Thank you, Public Square, for making it so easy to find an adorable little French cafe to go on a date. We are so glad to support businesses that align with our values and that celebrate the freedom that America was built on.
What's up, kids? So I got some interesting information today. Apparently there is a website out there dedicated to MAGA small businesses. It's called publicsquare.com. Yes, all these MAGA businesses can sign up and you can find all their locations on a map provided on the website. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? I think we take this information and use it in a different way, like businesses not to shop at.
So even though conservatives have been putting us through hell on a daily basis in this country for decades now, I've got to admit that sometimes their stupidity can be a blessing in disguise. And I say that because they inadvertently handed people on the left a really nice gift without even realizing it. What do I mean? So anti-fascists are catching on to a tool that right-wingers have been using for years now to support supposed anti-woke businesses in their communities. But instead of creating a map of so-called woke businesses to avoid, the app in question compiled a database of pro-Trump businesses to support. But the app is not really being used in the way that its creators intended. So if you go to publicsquare.com, you can enter in your zip code and immediately see a list of pro-Trump businesses in your area. And you can effectively choose to avoid these businesses now that you know that they are pro-Trump. And this platform reportedly has more than 50,000 pro-Trump businesses in its database. So through word of mouth on TikTok, Reddit, Facebook, and Instagram, the app is gaining popularity among people on the left and also liberals because of how useful it is to them, because now they know which businesses support fascism and thus know which businesses they should avoid. And the app has blown up to the point where some businesses registered with Public Square are now publicly distancing themselves from the app, as explained by the Seattle TikToker.
So apparently a liberal newspaper a few days before I posted my video had called these businesses out by name that I also saw. And this is the Facebook post from Barolo, which is a restaurant downtown, saying, "Oh, no, we don't. We didn't. We definitely don't support this. We don't know how this happened." Look, here they are up here. It says, "This is not a MAGA supporting business." Cool. Wonderful. We love hearing it, right? Like, even if we scared you back into the woodwork, we love hearing it. But here's the thing. We went and we looked at the website. So you have to apply. You have to apply. So do this. So somebody went in there, put in information. We did not look at the application because we're not going to go in there and put in a bunch of information just to gather data for these people. But they have to go in and apply. So did you apply? Who applied? Who was it? Tell me! Essentially just refused to believe that this is just a disgruntled employee being like, I'm going to put you on a MAGA serving website to get back at you somehow. However, it would be smart. But don't do it. That's bad.
So their response is basically, oh, gee golly, we have no idea how we ended up on this MAGA supporting website. We're not Trump supporters. That's not us. But that's not true. They're lying because, as he explained, you have to register your business to get on Public Square, and Public Square vets the companies that apply to ensure that these companies align with and adhere to their conservative principles. So while it's possible that a disgruntled employee could theoretically register their owner's business to burn their boss, there seemingly has to be specific criteria that needs to be met in order to make it on Public Square's database. As HuffPost explains, its website, which bills itself as the anti-woke online marketplace, is a hub of tens of thousands of businesses nationwide that want people to know they align with MAGA views and oppose so-called progressive priorities like women's reproductive rights and diversity initiatives. In order to list your business on the website, you first have to confirm that you will respect the core values of Public Square and agree to not support causes that are in direct conflict with our core values. Now, I'm not privy to the ways that they gauge how conservative a company is, but HuffPost spoke to a man using Jeff as a pseudonym who found out about Public Square from a bank that he worked at in California, whose lenders were huge MAGA chuds, and they instructed him to try to get their bank on Public Square. And through that, Jeff learned about the process, and while he doesn't know if the bank ever managed to make it on their database, he says that the businesses who are on Public Square are not there by accident. If they're there on purpose. And the reason why they won't just allow anyone on the app is because its owners are actual Trump Kool-Aid drinkers. The Stranger reports, Public Square was started up in San Diego in 2021 by Michael Seifert, hardcore Christian fundamentalist and alum of the sometimes accredited Liberty University, that's the one founded by Jerry Falwell, as a right-wing values-driven alternative to Amazon. Now HuffPost adds, the company, which officially launched in 2022, has direct connections to Trump too. Its board of directors includes Donald Trump Jr., who is also an investor. Kelly Loeffler, President Trump's administrator of the Small Business Administration, also was on the board until she was confirmed to her current post in February. So we're talking about some of the biggest names in the Chuddoverse, the MAGA cinematic universe. So, I mean, if a business has their blessing, I think it's safe to say that it's not a fluke, which is going to be something to look out for, because now that more people are using the app to boycott, more businesses are going to become a little bit savvier and feign ignorance once they start to lose money, or to stop themselves from losing money. But just know that they're lying. But I mean, these businesses won't be the only ones losing money due to a boycott, because according to HuffPost, Public Square makes commission off of transactions at these businesses, assuming that they sell their merchandise through their online store. So if the app becomes big enough and enough of the companies in their registry are boycotted, they lose money too. Public Square directly loses money because of these boycotts. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall in their boardroom meetings now, because now that the word is out about the usefulness of this app to anti-fascists, they've got to be panicking. I mean, if you search Public Square on Reddit, there's so many posts about it in different subreddits for cities and states, including Alaska, Portland, Denver, Nashville, Bend, Charlottesville, Cleveland. It's also mentioned in a lot of liberal and left-leaning subreddits like 5051, Leopards Ate My Face, and even the Joe Rogan subreddit, which is basically been taken over by ex-fans who don't like his right-wing pivot. And on the App Store, the glowing reviews are mostly coming from anti-fascists. At least the more recent reviews are. For example, this person gave it a 5-star review, writing, "I love how simple and easy this app is to use to find local businesses that I and all of my companions need to boycott. I've already found a handful of businesses I wouldn't have expected that I now will never go to again. I can't say anything for the store functionality of this app because I will never ever use it." This person gives it 5 stars as well, saying, "Great app that is easy to find out what businesses support kidnapping citizens to concentration camps, cutting cancer research, destroying the economy, pushing disinformation, and cutting social services for people who pay for them out of their taxes. Thank you for helping us spread awareness to avoid these corrupt, disgraceful businesses pushed by our malignant authoritarian regime." So needless to say, if the app continues to grow for this specific reason, it could become a victim of its own success, ironically, because even though people are using it, they're using it in a way that will lead to its inevitable demise at some point if this continues. Because if these businesses no longer want to be associated with this app and they pull their products off of their store, I mean, then Public Square loses commission and the app itself goes bye-bye. But I hope it does stay open for a little bit while longer, at least, because it's actually very useful. And I'm happy to find out about all the fascist businesses in my community. I'm not necessarily surprised by how many they are. Nonetheless, they're there, and I will be avoiding them thanks to this app. Thanks, Public Square. But I mean, I want to share one more TikTok from the user who helped to spread the word about Public Square. He's going to explain how this isn't necessarily a new phenomenon, specifically the tactic that conservatives are pulling off.
Public Square is basically the Green Book, but for conservatives. The Green Book was a book passed around black communities that was a list of stores and businesses that were safe for black people to use. Public Square is the same thing for conservatives. It is a website that conservatives will register their business on to show that they are anti-woke, pro-conservative, and especially pro-life. If you're like me, you'll search that and find that there are local businesses in your community that you will never shop at again. I just found out that the game store that I've been attending weekly for the past decade is a registered business on Public Square. Stay woke and be aware of the Public Square.
So to give you some additional context, the Green Book was used during Jim Crow to help black Americans avoid racist businesses when they traveled, because they needed to know where it was safe to get gas and groceries when they left their town, so that way they wouldn't unnecessarily put their families in harm's way. It was a necessity because of racism. But as that TikToker explained, conservatives created their own version of Green Book as if they're victims, when in actuality, they are the victimizers. And if they were alive during Jim Crow, Black Americans would need a green book to avoid people like them who think they need their own green book. So it's especially gross that conservatives are appropriating a piece of Black history to profit off of their victim complex. But hey, it goes both ways, right? So if they're going to appropriate Black history, we can appropriate their appropriation and weaponize it against them. So in the end, I would encourage you to use Public Square, because I think you might be surprised, or maybe not, with how many businesses in your community are paying fealty to a fascist cult leader. With that being said, if you are going to use this app or the website, reject their cookies and don't let the app track your location. I think the safest way to do it is to use a private browser or browse in incognito mode. Just don't let them track your shit. Either way, look, knowledge is power, and if fascists are giving us a free tool to boycott them, I think it'd be rude to not accept the gift that they're giving us. So have fun.
Woke mob. Woke mob.
Woke ideology.
Woke ideology.
Woke ideology.
Woke ideology.
Woke ideology.
Woke test.
Woke ideology.
Woke Olympics.
Woke ideology.
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 Weaponized wokery.
Woke ideology.